Okay, now I'm going to talk about going back to college and our 2 weeks of the process of being back to college. The first day back did feel a little bit strange to me because it was a bit weird to be back, and I wasn't sure what to do at first. So it start off with we had to have our masks on in lesson, which was a new thing, but it was understandable to keep people safe, as we didn't want to end up back in another lockdown or people ended up with COVID, because we didn't know where each other had been, what we'd done, what we touched. So that was for the best. So it was social distancing in the class, which was fine by me. However, we had to be more careful while we were rehearsing. However, sorry. So, we had to think hard and carefully about what we were going to do and stuff. So Catherine had pointed out the squares on how to create our own pieces, like how to do our own chair duets. Like mine was fear, hiding and scared, because that's how lockdown was. So that was my own. Catherine seemed happy with that, which I seemed happy with, because I think that was a good thing to have for the show, to show fear, as lockdown did cause a lot of fear. And I don't think there's any issues with it along the way, because I didn't receive any criticism, I didn't receive any bad feedback. So to me, that, in my point of view, that's looking like I did a good job. Well, maybe I did or I didn't, I don't know. I wasn't told anything, but yeah. So I'm pleased about that one. And also the big space, small space, with our own doing our own little activities, changing it from online to into the theatre, and with my bowl mixing and others doing their shave, trimming, gaming. It was nice to have a new movement, because one said gaming, we moved different squares. One said shave, one moved different squares. Another one said trim, we all moved different squares. And then, according to the tech crew, like Catherine, Jess and Sonia, it looked a bit weird and odd. So we come up with a different idea. However, social distancing, with people separating from each other, someone come up with an idea saying, "Excuse me, can you move? Oh, can you move, please?" Some were calm, some were frustrated when people need to get past others. So it was nice to have it come up. The idea worked for when, say, "Move, please," from the start, to frustration to then, like, "Move, please." Yeah, so that worked really, really well in my eyes. And yeah, so then when we did our screen performances, like doing our little, what's it called? I know it, I'm just trying to remember it. Like our own little dance routines, like when we were leaning down and back up, and then the Black Lives Matter come on, and then that was a bit of a tough process, because when Catherine was directing, when Catherine was directing what to do, it was hard, because we had to show sadness or seriousness, and Catherine got up the idea, as George Floyd's name was mentioned a good few times. So as two of us were in line, from one person was there, then two, like two were in front of me, two were in front of the other on the other side, and we had to put our arm up for ever George Floyd's name came up. And I felt really fascinated by that, because that shows we respect the Black Lives Matter. We support George Floyd's death, because George Floyd's death was a massive tragedy, as a murder is huge. A murder is something that I wouldn't wish on anybody, not even my worst enemy, because once you take someone's life, there's no going back. You never ever take a person's life, no matter how bad they've been. Yes, they deserve to be punished, locked up, not never allowed out of prison, but murder, no. Never murder. And by the looks of it, and I believe it was out of racism, how George Floyd got murdered, especially as the police officer cut his windpipe, which is disgustingly wrong in my eyes. You never ever violently attack someone like that, especially as a police officer, no. And I would have thought that police officer would know better, which he clearly didn't. And I am proud there was a Black Lives Matter, even though it was the wrong time in my eyes, because there was a pandemic going around. And it put many people at risk, even though people wore masks, but at the same time, that was still putting people at risk. And at the same time, I didn't go against it, because a Black Lives Matter needed to happen. Racism had been on for hundreds of years. In fact, not even hundreds, more than hundreds, probably centuries, up to thousands as we go along. It could go on forever, and we probably wouldn't even still know how many proper years it had gone there. But with the black culture, it was time action did get taken, because so many black people went through emotional abuse, through attacks, physical abuse, all because they were black. And black people didn't deserve to go through that, because at the end of the day, we're all human. And in my eyes, it's just a skin colour. So what if you're white, brown, black? We're all human. We all go through human nature. And we should all be there to support each other, not go against each other. And from through what many black people have been through over the years, throughout the centuries, I am proud action did get taken in the Black Lives Matter march, because that's what this world needed. Maybe it wasn't the right time, but at the same time, I'm proud it did happen. And people were outraged, but then again, there was overcrowds at the beaches, the London tubes, London buses. People had partied on V-Day, as it was the 75th anniversary of the end of the World War II last year. People partied, which I did think was ridiculous. That was stupid. Yes, it's a special occasion, understandable, but it was the wrong time to party. And so I will go against the V-Day parties, the beaches, the crowds on the beaches, London buses and tubes. I will go against that. The Black Lives Matter, I refuse to go against, because it was time action got taken, which I'm proud it did. And in our physical theatre performance, showing a silent scream and trying to show emotional abuse, what black people are going through, even though we couldn't fully show how they felt or what they were feeling, but we could only show what we were feeling from them. And it was nice to just show an audience what what black people were going through, which does break my heart. It hurts me knowing what emotional abuse black people were going through. But after Black Lives Matter March, I do hope it makes a better world with what people went through, which I'm hoping for throughout the next many years we get a much better world with everyone respecting each other no matter what skin colour. Okay, so moving on to the next bit of rehearsals. Scaffolding, which I'm happy with. I think I said scaffolding. If not, I'll say it again anyway. Yeah, scaffolding, which I was surprised, which I didn't know what we were doing. Like when Ed and Kieran were doing their pieces with their movement throughout the social distancing. I want to be involved too. So me and Tanya, yeah, I think I have spoken about it. So as I've said, me and Tanya, I think there's a video before, but I'll repeat it again anyway. So me and Tanya, we come up with our ideas, which is boredom, exercise, searching and reaching out, because that's what happened a lot in the lockdown, because people were bored, people were exercising, but only from home obviously, and outdoors, as gyms were shut in the lockdown, and people were searching for others, because people either went missing because how lockdown affected them, and reaching out to others about how we were feeling, trying to reach out to your loved ones because you miss them, or you're feeling hurt inside and you're trying to reach to them so you can be with your loved ones, so because that's what you needed. Me and Tanya made a great piece out of that, I believe. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. Sometimes it took a lot to do, and I'm proud the fact we did that. I am, because we showed what people were going through, even though it wasn't like how we done that, but it was to show what was happening in the lockdown with boredom and other things. So the scaffolding was a fun thing to do in my eyes, because I'd never ever done a performance on a scaffolding before. So that will be a memory for me that I'll never forget, which I'm quite happy about, because I've never ever thought I'd ever get the opportunity to do that. So I'm going to take that opportunity to remember it while I can. So, and as for that, other things we did, like the Among Us was, we had to think carefully about that first, because throughout the lockdown and at college we had this game called Among Us, which was a fun game, because you don't know which one of your friends is the imposter who is killing people, and you're sus about who's done it. You team up thinking, okay, who's the killer, who did this, and the person who was the imposter who killed people was to act out that they were part of the team, that they weren't the killer. So it was interesting, because we always had that thing about, was it you, you the imposter, I'm sus, all that and this. And yeah, so we had the idea to have the Among Us in the show, even though it was fast, but then again, if it was long, it possibly would have got boring for the audience. So it was best to just have a little short scene of it. And what makes me laugh about it the most was Kieran goes, "Oi, where have you been?" I was like, the electronic room. And he says, "I'm sus." I was like, no, I am not the killer. Because that was after when someone died. Because Ed was the imposter, and he killed me. And the bestest part in the imposter scene was Kieran was the survivor, and we had our survive, and we had that on for him, which I thought was great, because every time somebody won in the Among Us, it would be a bit of a dramatic part of it, because they'd be like, yes, I won. Other people are like, oh, how'd you do it, all that and this. It's funny, but a bit crazy at the same time. Which, well, lockdown got us crazy, and we had to have something to keep us entertained, which I believe was a good thing. Okay, so what else have we got? We have there was Ed and Kieran's scaffolding scene. Tanya amazingly, smartly come up with an idea that we all sanitize our hands, because Ed and Josh, because they weren't comfortable with a scaffolding scene, they were cleaning it, and because it needed cleaning because other people had touched it. So me and Tanya could come up with the idea that we would sanitize our hands, because sanitizing was popular no matter where you were. Every shop, every restaurant, every store we went to, there was sanitizer, because that's what we needed to keep each other safe. Because if we had COVID on us, it could be on our hands without knowing it. And that was a good thing in my eyes to use. So, what else have we got? We have the end bit, where we speak to each other about how we felt, how lockdown made us feel emotional, overwhelmed, distressed, angry, pissed off. So a positivity bit, where we had positivity like saying physical theatre, Shakespeare, Stanislavski, Greek theatre, and no singing, which is great, and Tanya going dissertations, and then we were like, no, which I think is great. And that worked really, really well. We had to come up with the words a couple of times, because people are either saying the same words or saying the same as each other, or saying words over and over again as repeating from the first time, which took a couple of minutes to decide, but everyone remembered them well, which I'm really pleased about, because that to me didn't seem like a hard thing to do, because we were all adult enough and professional enough in the professional side of performing arts to deal with it, which was perfectly well done to all of us in my eyes. And another part of physical theatre for rehearsals was being our own little dream world, where we want to be, where we wish we were right now, because in lockdown we were stuck indoors, not with nothing to do, dreaming so hard where we wanted to be. So mine was the theatre, which was because I wish I was watching a show, because I booked to see so many shows in the lockdown, like Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis, Russell Howard, and other things too. I was glad I couldn't go, but we all had to keep safe. So I had that one as theatre, because to me that was my life, and I miss theatre. I haven't watched a show properly since I saw the Band of Gold in Cheltenham Everyman in March last year, 2 weeks before the lockdown. Yeah, so that was over a year now, sadly. But to me that was a good skill to have, and I enjoyed working in that scene with other people. The 2 weeks process of rehearsals was very, very, very hard. I was very stressed, very panicky. Admittedly, I didn't know how it was going to work. I wasn't sure whether it was not going to work or was going to work. You never know. But I stayed in positivity and faith that it would work well, because it's already been it had already been an awful start of the year for 2021, getting back into lockdown, And so we needed something positive to get back into, which was physical theatre and doing a performance within 2 weeks. It's natural we're all stressed, we all had so much to do, but in 2 weeks I feel proud that we managed to get so much done in 2 weeks, which I am really, really pleased with. And the rehearsal process was really, really hard, having to get so much done throughout that time, with this big space, small space, and other things. And yeah, so as I already explained, in doing the rehearsals from home, online, I was worried that we would do physical theatre from home because I wasn't feeling motivated online or happy, and neither was anyone else, but we had to get on with it because it was the only thing we could do with lockdown happening around us. But luckily we had the opportunity to come back to college 2 weeks before lockdown, and we getted to show our show, which took a lot of strength and courage. And that just shows that, in my eyes, that you are a true actor. If you can do so much within 2 weeks, you can bring on a performance in 2 weeks from having to change so much from online. And that, to me, is a great effort of which we all put in, that I am really, really proud of, because that just shows the group and people I'm with care, that I care, even though there were hicky moments, but that was bound to happen because of everything that was going on. And that, to me, was a great team, and I couldn't be more prouder.